This one is crazy. These conjoined twin sisters actually share a brain. But not only that, they can hear each other's thoughts and they can see out of each other's eyes. I've seen this one before and it's a no for me. I have stage fright. So this is called a public semi-transparent toilet. You cannot see in, but you can see out. No.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here, if you guys don't know what we do, let me break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's tapping into the channel, watching the videos entirely, man, commenting down below, and most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video I drop. I greatly appreciate the support, guys. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, seekers, man. Stay with me, y'all. Y'all know what we do out here. Let's seek the truth.
People you've never heard of. A boy named Gilbert in 1914 threw a tennis ball that got stuck way up in an archway of the Lincoln Cathedral. Nobody knew it was there until that same boy's nephew wrote a letter to the cathedral staff jokingly asking for it back 90 years later in 2005. Margaret from Kentucky became addicted to bee stings after using them to relieve her arthritis pain, eventually escalating to 15 stings a day and over 50,000 in total. This Malaysian man, nicknamed the Magnetic Man, had a seemingly magnetic body that attracted metallic objects. His sons and grandchildren also had this trait, which made him think it was hereditary. This other Malaysian man has the world's most powerful teeth, and this is him using those teeth to pull a 300-ton train over 10 feet. The Hawaiian singer Israel Kamakawiwo'ole's famous version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow was recorded in one take. He called a local studio in Hawaii at 3 in the morning and begged them to let him in because he said he needed to record something immediately.
This father who murdered his 2 teenage daughters because they started dating finally had his first interview in prison and denied everything and said it was all a conspiracy. I went over this case and his recent interview on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. On New Year's in 2008, 18-year-old Sarah Saeed used her last breath to call police and let them know that her dad had just shot her and she was dying. Beside her was her deceased older sister Amina, who was also shot by their father. But this didn't just happen out of nowhere. Growing up, these 2 girls endured a lot of abuse from their father. When they were 7 and 8 years old, they told their mother that their father was essaying them. But eventually nothing happened and the case got dropped. Things only got worse as they got older. Their father became more controlling and perverted. Their father would follow them and take videos of them everywhere they went, especially when they went to work. At one point, he took Amina to Egypt to try to marry her off to an older man, but luckily that didn't go through. But one day, he lost it when he found out that his daughters were dating and he threatened to take their lives. At this point, the girls were fed up, terrified, and decided to run away with their mother. But taking their mother with them wasn't the best decision because eventually Patricia wanted to go back to Yasser. She then promised Amina and Sarah that nothing would happen if they returned home, but that wasn't the case. The girls were convinced that their father was going to eventually take their lives, so they left a lot of evidence, including emails and letters to teachers about what was going on at home. When they went home, their father offered to take them out to talk and resolve things, but on January 1st, 2008, he shot them multiple times while they sat in the back of his taxi. Yasser fled for 12 years, but now that he's been in prison for 4 years, he still denies taking his daughter's lives. Throughout this recent interview, he gets frustrated and blames the FBI for pinning the murders on him and says that all the evidence against him isn't true.
Here's some fun facts you may have not wanted to know. But after this video, you'll know. So if you've heard somebody say honey never goes bad, it doesn't. Because there's not enough water in the honey for microorganisms to live on. So that honey you may have thrown away because it's been sitting in your cabinet for what, 3 years? It was good. On to the next. Ants go to war. Similar to humans, and they actually have some crazy strategies. For example, they'll put the weak ones in the front to protect the strong ones in the back. This one is crazy. These conjoined twin sisters actually share a brain. But not only that, they can hear each other's thoughts and they can see out of each other's eyes. I've seen this one before and it's a no for me. I have stage fright. So this is called a public semi-transparent toilet. You cannot see in, but you can see out. No. On to the next.
No.
Sunflowers can clean up radioactive waste. Sunflowers are good at eating up pollutants, especially radioactive metal contaminants, and they store all the waste in their stems. In the Antarctic, there are no spiders. That is all. So when Ashton Kutcher was 13 years old, he tried to commit suicide by jumping off a hospital balcony, all because he wanted to save his brother and donate his heart. For all my duck-feeding people, don't feed them bread. It fills up their stomach and they end up getting no nutrients from the bread anyways. And the bread also causes malnourishment. So when lions get injured, they can have mane loss. So when a lion sees a male with a long mane, they avoid fighting with him because they think he is stronger at combat. That's all, folks.
I think the fact that got to me was that there's a bathroom where you can see outside but people can't see you. Would you guys be brave enough to use that one? That's a no for me. I can't do that, bro. Like she said, stage fright. I'm good.
Some trees can actually grow inside of your lungs. In Russia, doctors performed surgery on a man named Artyom Sidorkin, suspecting that he had a cancerous tumor in his lungs. Instead of a tumor, though, they found a 5-centimeter fir tree branch inside of his lung. Doctors believe that Sidorkin accidentally swallowed a fir tree bud, which later grew into a branch. The probability of dying on your birthday is higher than any other day. There is actually a 14% chance of dying on your birthday than any other day. This is a shocking phenomenon called the birthday effect, which may be due to extra stress, drinking more, or people engaging in risky behaviors on their birthdays. A devil's chair exists in many cemeteries. In various cemeteries around the world, there are stone chairs called devil's chairs. These chairs were often used by mourners to sit and grieve, but legends and superstitions have given them a sinister reputation. Some stories claim that if you sit in one at midnight, the devil himself will appear. You are more likely to be bitten by someone in New York City than you are to be bitten by a shark. There could be someone secretly living in your wall or attic without you even knowing it. It's called frogging, and people say that it's becoming more and more common. So if you hear strange noises, notice things missing or moved, or your box of Frosted Flakes cereal is all of a sudden empty, there could be a frogger living in your home.
Check for froggers, bro.
You'll be glad you weren't around for. Part 1. The brazen bull execution was a method used in ancient Greece where a flame at the bottom roasted you to death, and the head of the bull was designed in such a way that your screams would be filtered and contorted into the sounds of a real bull. On pirate ships, workers who refused to follow orders would be hung by their nails. Another method used by pirates was called keel hauling, in which the men were dragged onto the ship until they died. And if this wasn't bad enough, the ship's hull was covered in barnacles so the man would be cut up as he drowned. Scaphism was an ancient Persian torture technique where criminals were stripped naked, tied to a boat, and then force-fed honey and milk until they got diarrhea, were covered in more honey, and set adrift in the ocean. This would then attract insects that would slowly but surely eat the men to death.
Dumbest ways people have died.
That's bad.
In 1880, the Queen of Thailand's boat capsized on the way to her palace, but despite many witnesses, nobody dared to save the drowning queen and her daughter. This was because touching the queen under any circumstances was a crime punishable by death. Bobby Leach was a world-renowned daredevil who became the second person to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel. A few years later, he died from a vicious infection after slipping on an orange peel. In 1996, a man named Michael Paul was on his way home from church when he decided to crack his neck just like any other time. But a few afterwards, he suddenly started sweating profusely and then went pale. By the time Michael was brought to a hospital, he had already slipped into a coma and died after 12 days of being on life support. An autopsy later revealed that the neck crack must have damaged one of the main arteries to his brain and resulted in a fatal stroke.
The man who took this 22-year-old's life while she went on a jog was finally sentenced. Laken Riley went on a jog on the morning of February 22nd, 2024, when suddenly her friends noticed that her location was stuck on the same spot. Laken was a nursing student at the University of Georgia, and she had a specific route that she ran on campus that her friends knew about. But while on her jog, little did she know that this man was lurking around campus looking for his first victim. Jose Ibarra woke up very early, dressed in all black, and went to campus to try to find a woman to R. He was even seen on surveillance walking around campus from 6 a.m. until 9 a.m. before he spotted Laken. When he saw Laken, it was said that he tried to take her clothes off and essay her, but she fought back, and that's why he took her life. While this was going on, Laken's roommates noticed that her location was stuck on a certain spot, so they went out to look for her. Unfortunately, they weren't able to find her, but they called police, and then they located Laken a few hours later. Beautiful Laken passed away from blunt force trauma and asphyxiation. However, Laken was able to put up a fight, and they found his DNA under her fingernails. This monster was charged, and as of today, he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I traveled halfway
Always
around
be
the world
aware,
looking for the
man.
baby elephant. Everybody talking Mudang. Let me tell you about Jun. Jun is a registered threat to human welfare and the cutest thing I've ever had to run away from. This was in the Elephant Nature Park in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Home to elephants rescued and rehabilitated from places like elephant riding camps, logging companies, etc. Including 9-month-old wrecking ball on 4 legs, baby Jun. Jun be wanting to play. You got to tell her no, but she don't listen. You think I'm kidding, but imagine an 1,800-pound toddler trying to wrestle you without realizing you're basically a glass build to them. Don't tell me she didn't know what she was doing, because she kept acting cute in my face only to try to bum rush me from behind. She also ate my poncho. Like right off my chest, to be fair. Wearing green around multiple plus-size lawnmowers was a choice. And the crazy thing is, I'll let her do it again. She wasn't the only one I met. There were others, like this young lady, Gumpung. And when I say young, I'm talking 51 trips around the sun. Basically, this place is a retirement home for elephants that have been exploited by people. It's gotta be the most ethical elephant sanctuary on earth, because everything is on their time. Trying to go for a walk, but an elephant says snack time, then it's snack time. No further discussion. And if you get caught in the rain because an elephant chooses self-care, you're just gonna have to meditate on that. So yeah, I love this place. I love everything they stand for. And now here's the sad part. They actually flooded, but like the worst one in a while for a place that's used to it. And yeah, elephants can swim, but a lot of them are disabled and some of them are blind, so yeah, it's been a struggle. And I'm sorry to kill the vibe, but 2 of them didn't make it. Alright, so the real reason for this, they need help. There's an emergency flood relief for the sanctuary, and they really need donations, so I'm gonna put it here, and I'm gonna put it there. I'm not being paid for this. They didn't ask me to do this, don't sponsor, nothing. Just they've helped a lot in the world, and right now they need that help back, so the more you know.
Hey man, that's freaking sad story, bro. Elephant freaking rescue sanctuary. That looks like an amazing place to actually go to too. You need to help them out, seekers. Looks like a place I want to go to one day. That's an edit, bro. We experts at this now. We can call them out. Any edits, y'all call them out with me, man.
Okay, now this has got people outraged. An extremely popular trans influencer was arrested yesterday, but she was placed in a male unit. She was arrested for battery of a police officer and disorderly conduct. But what's interesting is why the Miami Corrections Department chose to place her in a male cell, even when legally, as you can see from her license, she's female. See, sexual assault in US prisons got so bad that in 2012, the Prison Blank Elimination Act was passed. Now, in that legislation included new federal standards that each facility must decide housing assignments for trans inmates on a case-by-case basis. And while some states choose to ignore this and decide differently, as you can see, Florida's policy follows the federal standards. Authorities are asked to take into consideration the trans person's safety needs and if they would present management or security problems, and then assign them accordingly. In this case, for reasons that haven't been disclosed, they chose to place her in a male holding cell. So the question is, do you agree with their judgment or not?
Forbidden places that you can never visit. Number 1, Area 51 is a highly classified US Air Force facility that has been associated with UFOs, strange government cover-ups, and potentially testing alien technology. Although no one knows for sure what exactly goes on here, what we do know is that the facility itself is actually quite small. But the restricted area in total is about 90,000 acres of land. Next, Banga Fort is said to be the most haunted place in India. According to legend, there was a beautiful princess named Ratnavati and she lived in this fort. Many men wanted her hand in marriage, one of whom was a black magician named Singia. The princess, however, rejected Singia and he laid a curse on the fort which haunts it till this day. There have been numerous stories of people who entered the fort at night and were never seen again. As a result, people have been banned from entering the fort at night. Finally, the Bohemian Grove. The Bohemian Grove is said to be a secret group of very powerful people. It's alleged that many presidents and business leaders are part of this group. Every year they meet up in the woods and perform strange rituals, such as setting fire to a big owl statue. No one else is allowed to go in or take any photos. But a filmmaker named Ron Johnson once snuck a camera inside, and he presumably caught the world's most powerful men doing all of these strange things. For more,
these
caught
are
him
the
in
creepiest
4K.
unsolved photo mysteries. The Baltic Sea anomaly is known for being one of the most famous underwater mysteries on Earth. This sonar image from 2011 shows a large structure located at the bottom of the ocean. And if you're a Star Wars fan, it may look a little familiar to you. Many people believe that it could be a sunken UFO, or an ancient man-made structure that was lost to history. That, or Han Solo decided to move there and live his life in peace. Next, in 2016, a woman named Linda sent Belfast Live a disturbing photo that was taken from the year 1990. The photo shows a group of women in a factory with their arms crossed. One of these women was Linda's grandmother, Ellen Donnelly, and if you look closely at her shoulder, you can see a disembodied hand hovering over her. The photo quickly spread through the media, even making it to Snopes where they were unable to debunk it, so always look over your shoulder. And finally, many people believe that the Madonna, or the White Lady, was caught on camera back in 1991 at the Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. On this night, Judy Huff Fells decided to take a stroll in one of the most haunted cemeteries in America, along with the local Ghost Research Society, when they felt an odd presence nearby. And when she took out her infrared camera and snapped a photo, she could see a woman sitting on a stone. And this is why you shouldn't wander around a cemetery at night.
I won't be.
I knew this day was coming, I just didn't know when. Let's talk about parrot tongues. Awful, isn't it? You know, if you unfollowed me, I wouldn't even blame you. It's on the tip of my tongue. What is a xenomorph? Satan's back scratcher? A plumbus? My eyes will never get over yourself, man. Human arrogance is the only reason you think this is weird. You got hands, 2 of them actually, I hope. Well, some don't. You know, some like the lorikeet, nature had to get creative. Green is not a creative cult. So lorikeets feed on nectar from flowers. Pretty hard to do that without fingers, so nature went ahead and put the fingers on their tongue, which helps them grab nectar, pollen, seeds, grain, and most importantly for analytics, your attention. Also, most parrots have a bone running through their tongue, which makes them even more of a forbidden finger that can grab and manipulate objects. Pause. Do I need to say pause? It's a parrot. It's also why parrots are the only animals that can mimic human speech and not have to pay taxes. What's up? I meant one of the only. Alright, my bad. You know, everyone's freaking out over the tongue. If you think that's bad, just scroll. Scroll hard, scroll now. 3, 2, this is choanal papillae. It helps them with eating. It's actually a sign of a healthy bird, and it is the worst. Moral of this video, dinosaurs really had the wildest rebrand of all time. The more you wish you didn't know.
I never knew a parrot's tongue was like that. Learn new things every day, bro, watching these videos with you guys. So they have their fingers on their tongues. Interesting.
Beauty products used to look like torture devices. They used to use these to shield their skin from the sun before sunscreen was invented. These 1921 masks were meant to get rid of wrinkles. This mask was meant to give you a rosy complexion. Or my favorite, the warming mask for your face and skin. Terrifying.
This is all of the celebrity news today, but it's going to be simplified in 60 seconds. Ariana Grande is now paying Dalton Gomez $1.2 million in a divorce settlement. The new Travis Scott tour tickets are reselling as low as $7 because literally nobody is buying them. Dwayne Johnson, obviously The Rock, just addressed the Maui Fund backlash and said he could have done better. A bunch of fans are now thinking that Drake was shading Rihanna in the new song Fear of Heights. I haven't heard it, so I don't know. Jaden Smith just disclosed that she and Will Smith have been separated for years. Elon Musk just saved Amber Heard's role in the upcoming Aquaman 2 movie. We already know the drama on this. It's Cardi B's birthday, so a happy birthday. IShowSpeed was just officially unbanned from Twitch. Bad Bunny will be releasing his new album this Friday for anybody that listens. Taylor Swift is now planning on making a surprise appearance at the Eras Tour film premiere. So if you haven't heard already, Taylor Swift movie The Tour is coming out soon. I post these daily news roundups every single day so you guys can get the news without having to watch it. So make sure you add me on the side of your screen so you can come back to me tomorrow. Also, I want to know which one of these was your favorite and which ones you actually care about. And go watch my other videos.
This
those played out.
girl that vanished into thin air. Her name is Yuki Onishi. On April 29th of 2005, 5-year-old Yuki was out celebrating Greenery Day with her mother. It's a national holiday in Japan, and what they do is they go out, they celebrate nature, and they collect bamboo shoots. So Yuki, her mom, and 60 other people were out doing this. Yuki was so excited that she found her first bamboo shoot, she showed her mother, and then she ran off to find more. That's when she disappeared and was never seen from again. When they realized that she was nowhere to be found, they actually brought in search dogs and the police. This is where it gets really strange. The dogs followed her scent to the middle of the forest and then just stopped. The scent stopped in the middle of the forest as if she had just disappeared into thin air from that spot. To this day, she has never been found and no one knows what happened. If you want to hear some theories, come back for part 2.
What happened? She just disappeared. That was a high quality edit. Or with AI mixed in it too. My eyes, bro. Like I said, I can start to freaking point them out, man. I think I'm at expert level. What level y'all at?
Hey, bro, you know what's always fascinated me? The fact that if you're pretty and talented, you can get away with anything. Like, y'all remember when Ariana dated this dude? People were like, no, hold up. Ain't bro married Ariana? Ariana said, what's the problem? They said, well, we're not gonna stand for this. Ariana said, well, then do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, girl could sing, though. And there it was. I think there was more to the story, but that's not the point. The point is, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie got away with this times 10 back in the day. Y'all remember this? See, back in the day, Brad Pitt was dating this girl named Jennifer Aniston. And this was a huge deal because celebrities back then were like massive compared to how they are now. He was like the king of movies. She was like the queen of TV. But then he started doing this movie called Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They said, damn, that's not Jennifer. They said, no, bro, it's just a movie. That's Angelina Jolie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're kind of close, though. The director said, that's because they're really good actors. They be getting locked in. I ain't even asked her to do this, and she started doing it. He said, well, what about this? The director said, that wasn't in the script. So rumors started flying around, but people ignore them because Brad was with Jennifer for like 7 years. Jennifer goes, look, my life is perfect. We think about having kids, like everything good. Brad goes, Jennifer, can we talk over here for a second? They come back. Jennifer goes, we getting a divorce. Now, they came out though, and they said it was mutual, they both wanted it and all that. And well, a few months later, Jennifer comes out and says, yo, that's kind of weird. So they interview Angelina Jolie. The interviewer goes, damn. Angelina goes, appreciate you. What you mean though, Sean? The interviewer goes, how'd you like shooting Mr. and Mrs. Smith? She said, ooh, Lord, man, I could not wait to go to work. I couldn't wait to go. The interviewer goes, let me stop you right there. I think we got everything.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, people will still say, no, y'all, it's just the movie that they shot together. They came out and said, nah, we together. So they interviewed Jennifer. They go, girl, I'm so sorry. She goes, it's not a problem. We got a divorce. He can do whatever he wants. I said, damn, you must not have heard. She said, heard what? Somebody said, she ain't heard. She said, heard what? They said, Angelina did another interview. And here's where it starts to get wicked. See, Angelina did another interview where she said, yo, I love being single. At one point, I was seeing two dudes at the same time. She said, one of my little side pieces I met 3 years ago. We had dinner. She said, 3 years ago, listen closely, Angelina, was married. So I told him I don't want to do nothing. The interviewer said, now that's decent. She said, yeah. So anyway, I called him 3 years later and I said, hey bro, you want to be my lover? The interviewer said, I don't see nothing wrong with that girl. She said, yeah. Well, then we had to discuss how we was going to do it because we didn't want to hurt anybody. I always fall in love when I do a movie. Everybody started connecting the dots. They said, Mr. and Mr. Smith, you talking about Brad Pitt? Jennifer straight up comes out and says, what? Nah, that's not it. Everybody said, that's not it. Y'all tripping. And everybody watched the movie. They said, man, they're pretty good though. Everybody started saying stuff like that. And let's be real, they probably acted so hard that they just fell in love. Everyone's like, yeah, that makes sense. Brad comes out and says, yeah, and really though, my last marriage was boring. Everybody said, what? I said, no, I didn't mean it like that. Shout out to Jennifer. Now, to be fair, Brad Pitt was talking about an art piece when he said this, and he's really interesting when it comes to art. Jennifer Aniston puts it perfectly. She said, Brad Pitt would never say that to hurt me. He just has a sensitivity chip missing. Which kind of reminds me of how Kanye West justified many things that hurt his marriage because they were art. Anyway, that's really it. Jennifer lived happily ever after. Brad and Angelina lived happily ever after. Wait, they got a divorce actually. But, I mean, I think they're happy now.
If ghosts are not real, then how do you explain this?
Those are dope.
Know that one day could save your life.
Talk about it.
If you ever have to eat crickets or similar insects, chew them. Do not swallow them alive. They have spines on their legs which can cling to your throat, blocking your airways, causing you to suffocate to death. If your water ever smells like cinnamon, do not drink it. People often use it to cover up the scent of poison. Everyone hates red eyes in photos, but if your pupils reflect white in a picture, it could be a sign that something is seriously wrong with your eyes, such as cataracts, retina problems, or even eye cancer. If there's ever a shirt or object on the windshield of your car, get in immediately without removing the object. This is a common method that kidnappers use to distract you from getting in your car. If you're ever scuba diving and a giant octopus tries to grab a hold of you, do not try to pry him off. The key to survival is to get him off of one of his anchor points like a rock or a pipe, because he can't pull you down without using the leverage from his anchor.
Interesting. We find octopuses out here.
Psychology hacks you need to know. If someone is trying to make you decide something in a hurry, they're probably giving you a bad deal. Walk away. If someone's starting to have a panic attack, start breathing loudly and regularly. The person that is panicking will subconsciously start breathing with you. When someone in a group of people laughs, they tend to look at the person that they like the most. Nervousness and excitement have the same body reaction, so if you're nervous for a speech, try to convince yourself that you're actually excited. If you can get someone to contribute the idea, they are more likely to accept it. If you think someone is watching you, fake a yawn and then watch them. If you whisper to someone, it's likely that they'll whisper back, even when they have no reason to keep their voice down. Follow for more.
Really whispering? That helps?
Weird facts about the world, part 1. It snows in the Sahara Desert. Coca-Cola does not exist in only 2 countries. Colombia's brightest rainbow is in a river. You're always 7 years behind Ethiopia.
What the hell? So what year is Ethiopia in there right now?
Can someone please explain to me how a person can get stuck inside a turned-on walk-in oven? At around 9:30 p.m. on Saturday, police were called to this Walmart on Mumford Road in Halifax after a 19-year-old woman was found inside one of their walk-in ovens in the bakery section. Police say that the 19-year-old woman was already deceased when they arrived, and they're still investigating what happened. This Walmart has been closed since Saturday. I genuinely don't understand how someone can lock themselves inside a turned-on oven. If you have experience working with these walk-in ovens, please let me know how it works, because I literally have no words.
Her son vanished and was found dead 6 years later. In a disturbing twist, police now believe she has been murdered. Lola Karabiva is a 61-year-old woman described by loved ones as beautiful, kind, an amazing woman and a true friend. She was originally from Uzbekistan and didn't actually have any other relatives in the US apart from her husband, 65-year-old Vladimir. She was last seen alive on October the 12th at her house in Philadelphia. She'd just come back from a trip to Europe, which she had been really looking forward to, and neighbours believe she'd been away for roughly 2 or 3 weeks. She was reported missing and police immediately started looking into where the woman may be. The first port of call was her home, and after 2 unsuccessful searches, they finally had a breakthrough on the 3rd search. They made a horrifying discovery on the 16th of October. Her lifeless body was found wrapped in plastic and taped up in a wardrobe in her home. Police also discovered a dark stain on the floor which they believe may have been blood. So what could the motive be for this horrific murder, and who could have committed it? Interestingly, police are looking into the possibility that an argument could have started between Vladimir and his wife. It's thought that this may have been around her late son. Now, the son disappeared back in 2004 and was then found dead 6 years later. He'd actually been out hiking and was tragically just 19 years old when he vanished. It's reported that the 12th of October would have been his birthday. Vladimir has been arrested and charged with abuse of a corpse. And although there's obviously suspicion surrounding him, he's not actually been charged with her murder as yet. Lola's cause of death is yet to be determined.
Stories that
Always
sound
look at the
fake
husband.
are 100% true. In August 2010, a small passenger plane in the Democratic Republic of Congo was getting ready to take off. But just about 2 hours into their flight, tragedy struck. People living in a nearby town saw the plane plummet to the ground in a nosedive. There were 18 people aboard and only one survived the crash. Authorities couldn't determine what caused the plane to crash. The fuel tank was full and there wasn't anything wrong with the engine. But just 2 days after the crash took place, the lone survivor of the crash woke up from their coma and explained what happened. The man explained that towards the end of their flight, a flight attendant was checking in with the passengers when she suddenly freaked out and ran to the cockpit. The passengers on the plane began to look around to see what was wrong, and they immediately figured it out. Walking towards them from the back of the plane down the aisle was a live crocodile.
What?
Panicking, all of the passengers ran towards the front of the plane away from the animal. This caused a sudden shift of weight inside of the small plane, which led to them crashing. Don't bring crocodiles on planes.
Who brought a crocodile on a plane? And how did that even get past security or something like that? That's... If you heard that story, somebody told that story to you, like just walking, or you heard it, well, like you said, you wouldn't believe it. That story doesn't even sound real at all. But it's true. It's pretty explanatory. Don't bring alligators on a plane or crocodiles.
Bizarre and impossible things to be done. How is this possible?
I'm calling cap on that, or special effects. Is he wearing wires? That's another possibility.
Dirty facts about history that school probably didn't teach you. Part 19. Oscar Wilde was once quoted saying that he was addicted to giving top and said that it greatly inspired him as a writer. The first ever pregnancy test involved injecting a woman's urine directly into a female frog's skin. And if the woman was pregnant, a few hours later, the frog would lay eggs. Paul Revere would ride from Boston to Newport to cheat on his wife. No, babe, the redcoats are actually coming this time. In 1955, the KGB tried to blackmail the president of Indonesia with video footage of him making love with a Russian woman disguised as a flight attendant. However, this backfired because the president did not care and requested the tape so he could flex on his friends back home. Giving someone the finger actually dates back 2,000 years, and it used to mean that you were threatening someone with sex. So while today it means you, back then it meant I'm going to fuck you.
Here are some humans that have actual superpowers. So Stephen Wiltshire is an autistic artist who can draw an entire cityscape inclusive of all architectural details from his memory after only seeing it once. And speaking of superior memory, Rebecca Sharrock is a woman who can remember with fine detail every day of her entire life. Ben Underwood was a young boy who had sonar vision, meaning that he used echolocation like a bat to interact with the world around him, playing basketball and video games using only sound. Jo Cameron has a genetic mutation that doesn't allow her to feel any kind of pain, whether it's mental or physical, allowing her to burn herself on a stove for minutes at a time without realizing what's happening. Ty Nagak is an 80-year-old Vietnamese man who hasn't slept in 50 years after contracting a fever, and now he just works through the night without ever getting sleepy. Dean Karnazes is able to work past physical exhaustion and has once ran for 350 miles in a row without sleep for 3 days, and as a result, scientists have concluded that he could run until he died of old age. And finally, Wim Hof is able to withstand freezing temperatures and exposure to direct ice for periods of time that medical experts didn't believe were possible, like this 1.5-hour ice bath. Pretty cool, right?
Money facts that will blow.
People like that always freaking blow my mind, man. He stood in that ice bath in the Arctic water for like over an hour. I even hate being in the go over there in like a minute or something like that. So they definitely have some special abilities, man. Crazy. Tell me down below, man. What ability would you guys seekers get if you could have any?
Blow your mind. Content creators on OnlyFans made more money than all of the NBA players combined.
What?
Karenikov has made more in 3 years than Klay Thompson has in his recent 3-year NBA contract. fact. If you've been subscribed to Netflix since 2007, you've paid them almost $2,000. If you had instead invested that $2,000 into Netflix back then, you would have over $350,000 today. Paul Walker secretly bought a $9,000 engagement ring for an Iraq veteran that he overheard in a jewelry store telling his soon-to-be wife that he wasn't going to be able to afford it. Disney spends $50 million a year on fireworks. That's over $130,000 a night. Amazon will lose over $1 billion a year if it went 1 second slower. These are the average retirement savings in the United States by age group. The average for under 35 is $50,000. Average by the time you're 65 is over $600,000. The New York Stock Exchange is owned by a company named Intercontinental Exchange, which has its stock listed on the New York Stock Exchange.
That New York Stock Exchange and that other stock exchange, that looks like some weird things going on, bro. Can't they just like mess with the numbers or something like that? If you really think about it. That's an edit. Call them out, Seekers.
This is the age of consent in every country. So the highest age of consent goes to Bahrain at 21, followed by Nepal and South Korea at 20. India, Turkey, Vietnam, Argentina, and Egypt are some countries that place it right at 18, while Mexico, Ireland, and Cyprus have it marked at 17. A majority of countries have it at 16, including Canada, Russia, South Africa, Australia, Spain, Norway, and most of the United States. Inching a bit lower to 15, we have a lot of European countries, as well as Thailand, Costa Rica, and North Korea. 14 brings us to China, Bangladesh, Germany, Italy, Portugal, Brazil, and Colombia. 13 is actually the age of consent in Japan, Niger, and Burkina Faso. The Philippines and Angola have it set right at 12. And the lowest age of consent of them all is Nigeria at just 11 years old. But some countries like Yemen, Pakistan, and Iran, there's no age of consent and you just need to be married.
How old were you when you realized
that's insane.
You've been drinking beer wrong your entire life? You were supposed to drink it warm. I know, I was shocked when I came to find this out. Warm, how warm? Well, it turns out most formulations of beer recipes, they're made to be enjoyed at cellar temperature. What's cellar temperature? Between 50 and 55 degrees Fahrenheit. So, okay, not too cold, but not warm. Well, there's more. Prepare to be blown away. The best beer manufacturers will actually recommend that you drink their beer room temperature, because their beer is so good that any temperature really you can enjoy it, but at room temperature you really get the full flavor and notes of the beer. And then here's the shocking one. The cold beer phenomenon, as in when everyone started chilling their beers to 41 degrees, 40 degrees, that was because there was a lot of bad beer, and cold beer makes bad beer taste decent.
Ooh.
I know. Do with that information as you see fit. And if you made it this far into the video, comment down, "I love tacos," so I know that you made it to the end of the video.
Comment tacos.
Island of Tahiti.
Isn't that in Mulana or something like that? That Disney movie.
In real life.
They just brought it to life with animation. You see the similarities, you can see it. You see the grooves right there.
Facts that will mess with your perception of time. Betty White is actually older than sliced bread. By the time women were allowed to vote in Switzerland, NASA had already been driving a buggy on the moon. Karl Marx, the creator of communism, wrote a letter to Abraham Lincoln congratulating him on his re-election. Oxford University existed for hundreds of years before the founding of the Aztec Empire. The fax machine was invented the same year the first wagon crossed the Oregon Trail. The Ottoman Empire still existed the second to last time the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. That means that Turkey was not founded as a country until 15 years later. Star Wars came out the same year that the last guillotine execution was used in France. Follow for more.
Those possessions at times will mess you up.
I'm gonna ruin your childhood, part 13. Carl died in the beginning of the movie Up, and Russell is his guardian angel, trying to help him cross into heaven. Maybe that's why he had dreams of all of his memories with his wife. But what if Russell isn't just any guardian angel? What if he's Carl and Ellie's miscarried kid? Russell wasn't trying to earn a badge, he was trying to earn his wings.
They put things into perspective.
Help. Can anybody tell me the name of this movie?
I see you.
Sister, may we help you?
You just lost the element of surprise, demon.
Sister, this is a pre-trial hearing. We're gonna have to ask you to sit down, officer.
I'm fine, Your Honor. No recess.
He's the evil coming to New York.
Let me adjust the microphone for you. Top turn. How's that?
Mandela effects that will alter your perception of reality. Part 1. Many iPhone users recall there being a robber emoji with a beanie, a black and white striped shirt, and a money bag thrown over his shoulder.
Yeah.
However, this emoji never existed. In Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader does not say the words, "Luke, I am your father." He actually says this.
No, I am the father.
There was never a Disney intro where Tinkerbell dotted the I in Disney with her wand. Curious George does not have a tail. He never did. And Pikachu never had a black tip at the end of his. The Fruit of the Loom logo does not have a cornucopia. And if you look at the logo's 130-year history, not once did it have a cornucopia in it. And contrary to popular belief, I was never verified on TikTok. But drop a follow and maybe this one will become a reality.
This former
That
teen
Fruit of the
mom star
Loom
is a
one.
pedophile who repeatedly downloaded CP materials on her cell phone. Meet Lori Wicklehouse, who was a star on the TV show Teen Mom when she was only 17. While Lori appeared on the MTV show Teen Mom, she was actually videotaped giving her son up for adoption. And thank God she got that child out of her hands, because later on in life she would be arrested for some extremely disturbing things. So on August 13th, 2020, a 20-count indictment was handed down to Lori, and it was an arrest warrant. Apparently, according to the police report, child sex abuse material had been found on Lori's phone and her computer. Apparently, the Kentucky State Police Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force received a report from an anonymous person about what Lori was doing online. Apparently, for some reason, she had uploaded child sex abuse material to a Dropbox account that was traced to her. This story goes to show that it's not always men that can be pedophiles, it can be women too. So after the trial, Lori was found guilty and she was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison for the possession of CP. But she seems to be smugly smiling in prison and doesn't seem to care about the children that she hurt in doing these horrific things. And even on the day of her sentencing for her sex crimes, Lori was placed in jail again for holding the court in contempt. So she hasn't exactly been a model prisoner, but thankfully she is still in prison. And once again, I'm just so glad that she ended up giving her baby up for adoption.
Carlos Rodriguez right here killed
Never
Zoe
know.
Campos right here because he was hallucinating and thought that she was a demon. He even sent a handwritten letter to detail the killing in 2013 and why he did it. He admitted that he was wrong and he wanted everyone to know the truth 5 to 6 years later. He stated he's not a murderer, he just committed a reckless act. That reckless act happened to be murder though. He said he was hallucinating after smoking some sort of synthetic marijuana. He started losing track of time and hallucinating, seeing Zoe as a demon. Fast forward 5 years after that incident, in 2018 and early 2019, that's when her skeletal remains were found. He also stated in his letter, as soon as she started to laugh, he heard a demonic scream and her face started to melt, according to him. That's when he snapped and started choking her, or what he thought was a demon at least. He claimed he wasn't in the right state of mind, however, he knew he was wrong in this instance. Now, Carlos ended up pleading guilty on August 15th of 2022. Because of the actions and the murder, he is facing life in prison for this. There's no way around this. Let me know your thoughts about this case in the comment section below, guys.
Stay away from drugs, man. That's the ultimate message. That really, like they said, it alters your mind, makes you see things that aren't there. Warps your perspective. I stay away from stuff like that always.
This is a good one. Let's talk about Wrinkles the Clown. Wrinkles is a clown based in Florida, and you can hire him to scare your misbehaving children. And there's even still an active phone number you can call, and you'll get sent to his voicemail to leave a request. The problem arose when he started showing up randomly all across Florida. Kids were reporting a clown would follow them home, even at night. There are several videos of people seeing Wrinkles the Clown outside of their house staring at them through the window. And there were also reports of him being on playgrounds waiting for children. This was all just so he could scare them. They even made a whole movie based on this clown because it was so terrifying. Let me know what you guys think about Wrinkles the Clown in the comments section.
Clowns are creepy, bro. Like, that's dead.
Here's something no one's talking about. Trees and land absorbed almost no CO2 last year. And the consequences of that is not just devastating, but it's something most scientists haven't even factored in to their climate models. I mean, just look at what's happening in Finland. You see, humans emit a bunch of carbon into the atmosphere each year, but thankfully about half of all of our emissions is absorbed by the planet's oceans, forests, soils, and other natural carbon sinks. And carbon sinks being a phrase that scientists use to describe something that absorbs more carbon than it releases. But shockingly, this preprint study found that in 2023, Earth's land as a CO2 sink almost dropped to a net zero, the lowest it's been in over 2 decades. And it also showed that because of that drop, and we'll get into the reasons why, the ocean actually increased in CO2 absorption to compensate. And while that absorption plays a critical role, it also presents several dangers. One of which we just saw with Hurricane Helene in Milton, because the more carbon the ocean absorbs, the warmer they become, which then contributes to more and more extreme weather events. And what's happening in Finland is one of the craziest examples of this. WSTUB. They have one of the most ambitious net zero targets in the world, with aims to reach that target roughly 15 years ahead of other European countries. But despite cutting emissions by a massive 43% across all other sectors, because the amount of CO2 that their forests absorb in particular has declined by a staggering 90% from 2009 to 2022, Finland's net emissions are about the same levels as they were in the 1990s. It's as if nothing happened for 30 years. And this paper cited similar declines in regions around the world, like Europe, North America, and Southeast Asia, but most severely affected the Amazon rainforest. Shockingly, a severe drought towards the end half of 2023 caused the region to switch from being a carbon sink to becoming a net carbon source. Now honestly, the truth as to why this is happening is not fully understood, but 2023 was the hottest year on record, and researchers at least currently believe that these declines are primarily attributed to droughts, wildfires, and heat waves. Hopefully what happened in 2023 could be temporary and we could see a bounce back, and they say it is critical we do, because any hope of reaching net zero is impossible without nature. This is all.
That's crazy to think about it. Maybe that's why all those like hurricanes, like you said, was the one I had in Florida, like Hurricane Milton and stuff, is because the ocean is absorbing too much CO2. We gotta take care of our planet, man. We don't want bad things to happen to it. That's crazy, especially about the fact about Finland. Like, they did all that work and it made it seem like it was for nothing.
Library room in the Conjuring house. It actually used to be Roger Perrin's bedroom, the father of the Perrin family. And he supposedly suffered multiple demonic attacks and even saw the ghost of the witch Bathsheba in this room. The current owners of the home have also seen this book fly off the shelf.
I would stay out of that home.
This is your Cuero Agua,
Simple.
one of the creepiest execution videos in the world, explained. The video that I'm about to explain is about 30 seconds long, and it's the creepiest and one of the most disturbing videos out there. And whatever you do, don't go searching for it. The video begins with a suspected cartel member with his face completely flayed and skinned, and he is still alive. Now, you don't see this happening, but you do see the aftermath. All of the skin on his face has been completely removed. Nothing that resembles facial features are there anymore. No skin, no lips, no eyelids, absolutely nothing. This video almost doesn't look real, but it has been confirmed to be 100% real. It almost looks like and feels like an 80s slasher film. Throughout the video, it's just his captors mocking him and having a good time, enjoying the pain they inflicted on him. They ask him questions throughout the video like, "Do you want water?" which the victim replies, "Yo quiero agua," which means "I want water." The captors continue to just mock and mess with the victim throughout the whole video. It also looks like they skinned some of his chest off too, which I can't even imagine the pain. Now, the video is gory and hard to watch, but that's not really what makes this video disturbing. The video is just honestly extremely creepy. For example, how the guy looks after his face was skinned. The best way I could describe it is that his face was stuck in a constant grin, but he has no face. It's almost like they cut off his face in a way to make him smile permanently. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's an extremely messed up visual. Also, the way the victim sounds while he's talking to his captors is also extremely disturbing. His voice is just so raspy and it almost sounds demonic and not human at all. Now, we all know the video Funky Town, and people who saw Funky Town compare this video to it all the time. Now, it's not Funky Town disturbing, but it is extremely disturbing. All in all, it isn't a pleasant video to look at or watch, and I urge you to never ever go searching for it.
I don't. His descriptions are freaking vivid enough in my mind. I don't need to see that. It looks like an edit. That's an edit. We see him, bro. We see through the fake.
Girls went hiking in Panama, disappeared, and left behind their camera with disturbing photos. Chris Creemers and Lisanne Froon were students from the Netherlands, and they spent about 6 months planning their trip to Panama that was supposed to serve as part vacation and part service trip. They planned on spending some time hiking, touring, volunteering with local children, teaching arts and crafts, and learning Spanish. Lisanne and Chris have been hiking around the Panamanian jungle for the last 2 weeks as part of a backpacking mission trip. They intended to stay for the next 4 weeks with a host family to volunteer at a local school. However, when they waved goodbye to their host family at 11 a.m. on April 1st, they were never seen again. The girls had wrote on a Facebook post that they were going to tour a local village and they were having brunch with 2 Dutchmen before embarking on their hiking journey. On the night of April 1st, the host family noticed that there was something wrong. Their dog had returned safe and sound, but the girls were nowhere to be found. The host family looked around the area of their home, but decided to wait until the morning to alert authorities. The next morning, Lisanne and Chris missed an appointment with a local tour guide, and this prompted the host family to alert the authorities. By April 6th, the girls were still missing, and their families ended up flying to Panama, bringing detectives with them from the Netherlands. Along with local police and dog units, they searched the forest for 10 days. Days turned into weeks, and after 10 weeks, there was still no sign of Lisanne or Chris. As police were slowing their search efforts, a woman turned in a blue backpack to authorities, claiming to have found it near the banks of the river. Inside of the backpack, they found 2 sunglasses, 2 bras, a water bottle, $83, and Lisanne's passport. Also inside, most importantly, they found Lisanne's camera and both of their cell phones. Police immediately began investigating the camera and cell phones and came up with some disturbing evidence. The phones had remained in service about 10 days after the girls had gone missing. As they were looking at the phones, there was about 77 separate times they tried to call the police.
Damn.
And with these call logs, they were able to come up with a time frame of how long these girls were in the forest. It seemed like all of these calls were not going through since they were in the forest, but only one of them went through, but after 2 seconds it disconnected. As police were looking at the camera, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The first photo was of Lisanne and Chris as they were starting their hike for the day. But as the photos progressed, it became more worrisome. There was a photo taken on April 8th between 1 to 4 a.m., and it was showing the girls' belongings spread out on a rock. There was plastic bags, candy wrappers, and most importantly, there was a photo of the back of Chris's head, and there was blood leaking from her temple. Police were investigating where the backpack was found, and they discovered Chris's clothes neatly folded near the edge of the river. About 2 months later, in that same area, a pelvic bone and a foot were found in a boot. And soon after that, the bones of the 2 girls were discovered. As investigators were looking at the bones, they were looking at Lisanne's bone, and it looked like they had decomposed naturally. There was still some flesh attached to them. But for Chris's bones, they looked stark white as if they had been bleached. Police questioned the locals, tour guides, and hikers in that area, but no one seemed to know what had happened to those girls, and there was not enough evidence to determine the cause of death. To this day, the disappearance and deaths of Lisanne and Chris remain a mystery.
They
this video. An 8-year-old girl bravely fought off a terrifying intruder who entered her home in the middle of the night wearing a clown mask. On the 15th of October, a scene unfolded in a small town like that from a horror film. At around 1:30 a.m., a man broke into a child's bedroom in Colorado. Police described the incident as an attempted child abduction, with the man entering the room in a dark hoodie and a cloth clown mask. Terrifyingly, the little girl was blindfolded and snatched off her bed as the man tried to take her from her bedroom. She was subject to quite a brutal attack by the intruder and bravely fought him off until he hit her over the head and knocked her out. Fortunately, it seems that he was spooked in the process of this and fled the scene. Now, it apparently took police over an hour to get to the incident at the property, but they did manage to gather vital evidence and then track the intruder down. They revealed his identity as 56-year-old Thomas Gallegos. They were able to arrest him and charge him with multiple serious offences such as burglary, assault, kidnapping and child abuse. The little girl did sustain cuts and bruises and was obviously traumatised by the attack, but fortunately did live to tell the tale.
This is
That's
how rare
important,
your
man.
body actually is. Starting off, only 5% of people have tied tongues, so if you have this, you're pretty rare. Basically, this is where your tongue is tied to the bottom of your mouth, impacting your speech and eating. Next up is Morton's toe, and if you have this, you're probably pretty rare. Only 10% of the population has this, and this is where your index toe is bigger than your big toe. Okay, this next one is crazy. 1% of people actually have unbreakable bones. This is a genetic mutation which causes people's bones to be more dense than the average human. And one person who had this condition actually walked away from a car crash unharmed. Next, about 50% of people can fit their hand in their mouth. Sounds a bit high, so if you actually can, let me know. If you can tickle yourself, you're in the rare 7% of the population that can do this. About 10% of people suffer from eczema, which is a skin rash and is so annoying. And finally, we have the 16% of people that can make a roaring noise in their head by clenching their jaw.
If any of your seekers, man, can you guys do any of those unique things, man? I think I have the tied tongue, but I can't fit my whole fist in my mouth. I know I can't do that. I don't even need to try to do that, bro. And the unbreakable bones. I saw actually somebody comment down, a fellow seeker said how like the unbreakable bone story was kind of not true. So, like I said, to each their own. Everybody got to do their own research, but that's crazy.
Crazy part is, most people believe that these three things will actually save your life. They don't. Let's pretend you're lost in the desert and you need water, and you don't have any. So where are some places you can get water? One commonly held terrible piece of advice is to drink your own pee, because it's mostly made up of water, except there's 5% of that that's all made up of just waste from your body, and even though the urine might keep you alive a little bit longer, you'll ultimately die of kidney failure. So you don't drink your own pee. Instead, you head over to some cactus you see nearby because you remember reading or hearing in school that you can drink the water inside of cactus. Except, unless it's one really specific kind of cactus, you'll be drinking lots of alkaloids and chemicals that will make you viciously ill, and you'll start vomiting and you'll have diarrhea and you'll die from dehydration much faster. So as you're sitting there wondering what you're going to do next, a venomous snake bites you. And so you instinctively start sucking on the bite to remove the poison, but you can't because it goes right in your bloodstream, and all you'll do is die much faster from infection.
Man, those three things, he just proved
Have you ever seen
us wrong.
this picture from inside the basement of Fun Zone? And I'm going to get into some of the backstory about what it is that we're actually looking at here. But what I can tell you is that when I did see it, my heart sunk. For some backstory, if you don't know what Fun Zone is, this is kind of a relic of the late 90s, early 2000s. It had lots of iterations over the years, but it was effectively like an indoor amusement park or arcade. It used to be like a really fun place to be. It had a handful of carnival rides, indoor roller coasters, all the works. So Fun Zone eventually did close down and they boarded up the doors. I guess the problem was is that didn't stop people from breaking in. One of the curious things about this location was that they didn't sell off any of the equipment that was inside. It just kind of remained in place. Eventually, upon one of the break-ins where somebody went in, they made their way to the basement where they found an abandoned cell phone, and that is where we get this picture. Nobody really knows who took the photo or what really happened to them, but if you look a bit closer to the background, you will see the same thing that I do. You can see it if I make the photo brighter. Whoever was exploring Fun Zone, they came face to face with a person in that basement. Don't forget, if scary stories like this are of interest to you, make sure to go check them out right on the podcast.
We're always told to drink a lot of water
Insane.
throughout the day, but have you ever wondered what happens when you drink too much water? Well, 35-year-old Ashley Summers drank 64 ounces of water in a span of 20 minutes and passed away from water toxicity. Ashley, her husband, and 2 daughters were at Lake Freeman in Indiana when she began feeling dehydrated. So she drank 4 bottles of water because for some reason she wasn't able to quench her thirst. Ashley complained about having a horrible headache and she began to feel lightheaded. When she got home with her family, she passed out in the garage and she was taken to the hospital where the doctor said she had brain swelling. Ashley never woke up and she was pronounced dead from water toxicity. A toxicologist said that this is more likely to happen to someone who's extremely dehydrated, which will cause them to drink too much water and not enough sodium or electrolytes. So remember, bring more than just water on really hot days, especially if you're under the sun for a long period of time.
Here's why you might not want to visit your mom on her birthday. A man was stuck in traffic while driving home after visiting his mother for her birthday. The man was so frustrated that when the GPS told him to take a detour, he went right away, which might have been a mistake. His gas light then came on, so he decided to pull into this super bar in town to fill up his tank. So the man went in, pumped his gas, and when he went to pay, the clerk was super weird. He didn't acknowledge him and just gave him a creepy smile. The man then went outside and saw a woman just standing in the middle of the road and said, "Are you okay?" And the woman looked at him and said, "Ah, yes, we are happy here." The man was like, "What the?" and just drove out of there. Till a cop pulled him over and said, "Sir, you can't drive. Driving's illegal here." The man had had enough and literally just went pedal to the metal and zoomed out of there. When he got home, he was just so confused. The people looked real but didn't act human. He tried to research it but decided, next year I'm just sending my mom a card.
Yeah, the Fast and Furious out of there, bro. I did the same thing too. These people are acting weird, very weird.
Weird Nature Facts, Part 37. In proportion to body weight, koalas have one of the smallest brains of any mammal. They're so dumb that when presented with leaves on a flat surface instead of on branches, they are unable to recognize them as food and will not eat them. Dogs get sprayed by skunks so often because skunks raise their tails as a warning. Dogs see this as "come smell my butt," which is the exact opposite message of what the skunk is trying to send. In Germany, it is illegal to kill any vertebrate animal without proper reason. Because of this, all German animal shelters are no-kill. In the 1980s, Ken the orangutan escaped from his enclosure at the San Diego Zoo multiple times. His apparent goals were visiting other animals, taking photos with tourists, and throwing rocks at his orangutan rival.
Wow,
Here are some disturbing facts about Disney. Many scenes in Toy Story are inspired by the horror movie The Shining. The voice actor that did Lilo in Lilo and Stitch also played the ghost girl in The Ring. The Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland feature real human skeletons. Also at Disneyland, there are vents that pump out artificial smells to keep you happy. After the release of Princess and the Frog, over 50 kids went to hospital for salmonella. They tried to kiss a frog. Do you know any other creepy things about Disney? Leave a comment.
Here's some.
I think the thing that got to me the most is that he pumping out like a smoke out of a vent to keep you happy at Disney. What the heck? What they got going on with Disney, bro? And the more you know, I heard some creepy facts about Disney, but that's definitely a new one I heard today, Seekers.
The creepiest videos on the internet, Part 10. The popular American rapper XXXTentacion was murdered on June 18th, 2018, and his death broke the hearts of many.
R.I.P.
Many people visited his memorial to leave gifts, but some people captured much more. The YouTube channel, The Fam, recorded a video trying to communicate with this beloved rapper, but accidentally captured this. But someone else got a lot more than this. The YouTube channel Selva the Explorer got to speak with him through her spirit box. Here's some things he had to say.
What is your favorite song you've ever recorded? What's the name of your favorite song? Are you in the Wi-Fi? Is there anything else you want to tell us?
Is this legit? They were speaking to his ghost?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the most disturbing, but this is definitely top 5. This is Malgas Island.
and up to 60,000 of these birds called Cape gannets will nest here. But don't worry, I'm gonna get to it. So normally these parents take turns, with one going out for food with the other staying behind to guard the chick. But because of overfishing, oftentimes both parents will go out for food, leaving the chick all alone on the island. Which wouldn't be a problem if they didn't know that. Because groups of these white pelicans will fly over to the islands and then walk around looking for any unsupervised gannet chicks, so that they can grab the baby birds and eat them alive while they're still struggling. And sometimes they'll just push the parents out the way and then swallow the newborn children right in front of them. It somehow gets worse. Those same pelicans will fly back to their nest and vomit the half-digested, recently murdered baby birds for the pelican chicks to eat. And because Cape gannets have no real way to defend themselves, pelicans have no reason to stop. And since pelicans obviously don't have teeth, those chicks' last moments were spent suffocating while being digested alive by stomach acid, only to get regurgitated and eaten twice. Dinosaurs never went extinct. They just rebranded with feathers.
Black Air Force energy. Confirmed. They some menaces, bro.
This is proof that we aren't alone. Okay, so in Wyoming, there's a strange mountain in the middle of nowhere with ridges on it, and no one seems to know why. Now, most people say that this is because of erosion. However, there's a theory behind this mountain that will absolutely shock you.
Talk about
And
it.
as the theory says, the real reason as to why this mountain has ridges is not because of erosion, but because of a giant bear. The said bear is said to be named Mato and is about 60 feet tall, weighing over 10 tons. And this story even goes as far back as the Stone Age, with drawings of a gigantic bear attacking tribes on wall caves. However, this creature has not been seen since.
So this video went viral sometime last year when this woman and her kids, along with her friend and her friend's kids, went out to eat after a doctor's appointment. While they sat at this restaurant, this random man came out of nowhere and tried to grab one of their daughters and pull her out of the restaurant. The two mothers had a total of 6 kids with them, and they were all seated on this table, but in front of them were 2 other young kids who happened to be Snapchatting while this whole thing went down, and they caught this crazy moment. When the mother realized that this man had grabbed her daughter, she stood up right away and said, "Oh hell no." And then he said, "I'm just playing," and he let go of the little girl. There is no way this man is just playing around. He intended to take that little girl, and he probably thought it was going to be easy because there's just 2 moms with 6 kids at this table.
Humanoid robots.
Hell, yeah, nah, he was definitely on some weird crap, bro. Gonna say, try to play it off as a joke, man. These people are getting bold now, bro. Like, right in front of the parents, they just don't care no more. They the right thing standing. Nah, we had to run that feed, bro. No. Somebody had to drag me off that guy, man. And like, in front of the parents? How stupid could you be?
Are getting creepier by the day. A startup from Poland called Clone Robotics is on a mission to create some of the most human-like robots ever, even going as far as to use a musculoskeletal body using hydraulic tendon muscles covered in this stretchy skin-like fabric. And it's not just for show, because they claim that it is the strongest biomimetic hand in the world. Oh, and just like in the movies, their artificial muscles bleed if punctured. So yeah, things are getting serious now.
Terminator next step.
Part 4. Today, let's talk about the mysterious disappearance of Rebecca Corium. Rebecca Corium was a 24-year-old worker on the Disney Wonder cruise ship. On March 22, 2011, while working on the cruise ship, Rebecca disappeared without a trace. This is one of the last photos taken of her, and it was from CCTV footage. At 5:45 a.m. that morning, footage revealed Rebecca talking on the phone with someone. She seemed visibly distressed. Now here's where it gets twisted. Many people believe that Disney knows exactly what happened to Rebecca, but are trying to cover up this whole thing. Let me explain. For starters, the captain of the ship said that Rebecca was just washed over by a big wave. They then gave Rebecca's parents a sandal and said that this was hers and it was retrieved from the deck that she was last seen on. Number 1, the sandal wasn't her size. Number 2, it wasn't her style. It was also revealed that Disney had edited the CCTV footage. Check out part 2 on this case for more information.
They're just trying to save some money, man. That's not the first time a big company would do something like that. It's sad.
Did you know that they may have just exposed Satan's city? What's even more crazy is there's people living there right now and it's not hell. Whilst addressing a church in Revelation chapter 2 verse 13, Jesus exposes the city of Satan. Watch this. Jesus says, I know where you live, a place where Satan sits enthroned. And he says that same place is where his faithful witness Antipas died. Saint Antipas was martyred by being burnt in a bronze bull in Geneva, Switzerland. Like, this literally happened under the rule and reign of Nero. And you're never gonna guess what's happening in Geneva, Switzerland right now. It's home to an organization called CERN, whose, logo just happens to be 666. And their goal in life is to develop a machine that can actually tear a hole between the natural and supernatural realm. And they just made a discovery of something called the God particle, but that's a video for another time. Subscribe now if you love Jesus.
What do we think about CERN, man? That's their headquarters.
This is the disturbing truth about Christmas. This is Black Peter, and he spends the whole year spying on kids, taking note on who has been good and who has been bad. Every single Christmas, Black Peter goes with Santa from house to house, and while Santa gives presents to the good kids, Black Peter punishes the bad ones, and this is what he does to them. First, he will leave you a bag of twigs and a pile of coal. But if you have been really bad, Black Peter will snatch you from your bed and throw you into a sack. He will then kidnap you and take you to his coal mine, where he will chain you up and make you his slave. You will then work for him for the rest of your life, and if Black Peter ever gets sick of you, he will just simply eat you. So if this doesn't motivate you to make the nice list, then I don't know what will.
Stay away from Black Peter, bro.
Of the silent man. In 2014, a 51-year-old man in the UK named David Hampson decided to stand in the middle of a busy road and block the traffic. The incident was then reported and police officers arrived at the scene to see what was going on. But when they tried to talk to David to get him to move, he wouldn't say a word and just stood there, so they arrested him. From his arrest to when he was brought to court, David still remained completely silent and wouldn't even talk to his lawyer. Although since no one knew his motives and he hadn't actually hurt anyone, David was let go soon afterwards. But all he did was just go back to that same street and stand there, silent, once again. And he committed this same crime over and over again for the next 7 years, never saying a word to anyone. Even though he was jailed multiple times, every time he was released, he would just go back to that same street and do the exact same thing. All the doctors who had tried to help David failed because he refused to speak to them. And it was reported that the only time anyone had ever heard him speak was when he was giving food and water, and he said thanks. Finally, in 2020, David was given 3.5 years in prison for his actions, and is still yet to speak to anyone on why he did it. Fourth one.
If you believe in God, stay away from Halloween. Muslims, Christians, or anyone who believes in God, Halloween is a pagan festival. It involves evil spirits, jinns, and shaitan. It is forbidden for Muslims and real Christians to know the truth. Please do not associate with it and stay away. Share this everywhere and spread awareness.
Alright guys, let's talk about Krampus. Krampus comes from old German folklore. He's the opposite of Santa Claus and he punishes misbehaving children on Christmas. You might be asking, what does he do to punish these misbehaving children? He stuffs them in his bag and takes them back to his lair. He either eats them or tortures them. He also has a whole gang of minions that help him do this. Krampus is celebrated around many parts of Europe and there have been a lot of petitions to ban him. This is because people are scared of the legend and they don't want to keep doing it. But every single year during Christmas time, there are always reports of Krampus sightings all over the place. Let me know what you guys think about Krampus in the comment section below.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 3. The first firefighter killed in 9/11 attacks was struck dead by a falling body in the courtyard. One of them was killed on his way in, and the other was killed on his way out. Right now, there are tiny little bugs on your face munching on your dead skin. Your bones are wet. If you don't have kids, you will break an unbroken line of children that has gone on for tens of millions of years. A scientist studying death asked a man who was about to be executed by a guillotine if he would blink after his head was chopped off. He ended up blinking for 30 seconds. Most laugh tracks for TV shows were recorded in the early 1950s, meaning that you hear dead people laugh. If you're attacked by a bear, it won't try to kill you like other predators. Instead, it'll just start eating you. One day, someone will mention you for the last time, then they'll never ever mention you again.
Crazy to think about, man.
Here are the creepiest Christmas urban legends, part 1. Ever heard of the Yule Cat? This is an extremely creepy cat that's said to originate from Iceland. According to stories, the Yule Cat enjoys snacking on people during the holiday season. And what makes the Yule Cat even weirder is that it specifically targets people who haven't received any new clothing before Christmas Eve. Iceland is also home to Gryla. According to Iceland lore, Gryla is a giant ogress who leaves her cave in the mountains to feed on children during Christmas. To make the story even creepier, Gryla keeps the Yule Cat as a pet. What the hell is going on in Iceland? Then we have Belschnickel, and this one comes from Germany. According to people of the Rhine, Belschnickel is an old bearded man who visits children during the holidays with Santa Claus. If you were good that year, he'd give you cakes and candy. If you were bad, well, Belschnickel would pull out a switch and whip the children until they behaved. This is probably why Dwight from The Office loved him so much. There's also Krampus. This is one you've probably heard about from movies and books. In the Alpines, Krampus is a horned demonic figure who visits the homes of naughty children on December 5th and punishes them. In some versions of the story, he hits them with birch rods. In others, he straight up takes them back down to hell with him. The Germans definitely know how to scar kids for life.
Scary things hidden in Disney movies. In Mona, Olaf from Frozen appears in Mona's basket. Wally, Rex from Toy Story All Alone, Among the Junk.
Whoa,
Here's
I never
the
noticed
truth
that.
behind Dora the Explorer. You may think it's just some ordinary cartoon, but there's actually a big secret behind it. Dora the Explorer is actually blind, and here's proof. If you watch the show, you'll notice Dora never actually looks at what she's talking about. She always looks in another direction and doesn't even blink. This also explains why her parents make her take Boots everywhere, because Boots is actually a secret service animal. Even in this scene right here, Boots is counting the coins and she's not looking anywhere near that. And this explains why she always asks obvious questions to the audience.
The 16-year-old.
Whoa, what the heck? Hey, that's a new theory, man, that she just put in my head. Was Dora the Explorer always blind? What do you guys think, man? It was lining up perfectly.
Girl threw her newborn out of her window. Viewers' discretion is strongly advised. On September 30th of 2016, a 16-year-old Antonia Lopez had gave birth to a baby girl. Right after giving birth, she took a photo of the baby and sent that photo to her baby's father on Snapchat. Antonia had captioned the photo saying it was a girl, by the way. Right after that is when she made the decision to throw the baby out of her second-story window. Shortly after that, she then decides to post on her Facebook around 3:40 a.m. to see if someone can help her out. Someone ends up replying to her Facebook post, and she is asking help to get rid of a deceased baby, needs some trash bags, and a car. Antonia ends up telling her mom what happened, and her mom immediately calls 911 and rushes down to that baby to perform CPR. Antonia was taken into custody, and she could face up to 20 years in prison if she was charged as an adult. The judge ends up charging Antonia as a juvenile so she can avoid prison time. Instead, she was sentenced to live in a group home, complete 50 hours of community service, attend therapy sessions, and delete her Facebook account. The only reason they made her delete her Facebook account was because of the angry comments she was receiving.
Here's what famous cartoon characters would look like in real life, and the last one will freak you out. This is what Homer Simpson would look like as a real person. And this is a 3D rendering of Mario. Buzz Lightyear doesn't actually look too different in real life. And Bart Simpson seems to have a missing chin when he turns real. Stewie Griffin from Family Guy doesn't look too different. But SpongeBob SquarePants might freak you out.
Yeah, he did. SpongeBob can't be real. that face.
Maps that will change the way you see the world. These cities are all still owed money from the Trump campaign. There are now over 50 countries generating over 50% of their electricity from renewable energy. This shows the employment rates for 15 to 29-year-olds in Europe. The darkest blue areas are over 80%, and the darkest red areas are under 30%. This is how much it costs to hold a prisoner in each state in the United States. In Arkansas, it only costs $23,000, but in Maine, it costs over $300,000. 33% of the entire country of Switzerland live within 5 kilometers of the main train line that goes through the country. This map shows how population is dispersed through France, with the same amount of people living in the green as in the red. This map shows how many people by percentage in each country in Europe actually speak French. This map is highlighting every city that was founded by the French in the United States.
Wow, the more you know. That first map is crazy, bro.
These are scary cartoon truths that would terrify you, part 8. Okay, so the Teletubbies is a dark nightmare about genetically engineered slave creatures being systematically trained to become part of our society. The Teletubbies aren't in control of their own destiny, and 3 things control their day-to-day life. First is the voice, which is a tiny female voice that tells them when they could eat, sleep, say hello, or even say goodbye. The robotic voice comes from a speaker in the ground, hinting that something larger lies beneath. Next up is Nunu. He's a harmless vacuum cleaning robot who follows the Teletubbies and cleans up all the messes that they make, and also yelling at them for bad decisions. Nunu is just the watchdog of the Teletubbies. Finally is the pinwheel. Whenever the pinwheel starts to spin, the Teletubbies stop everything they're doing and run to the top of the hill to perform a ritual. People believe the Teletubbies is based on the end of the world.
Wow, we've heard some crazy theory about the Teletubbies, but that's definitely a new one.
Saudi Arabia has just said that the groundwork for what would become the largest structure on Earth is now 86% complete. Now, not only would it be large enough to fit 20 Empire State Buildings inside, but similar to the Las Vegas Sphere, in its center will be this spiral-shaped tower encased by a VR dome that essentially could create anything your mind could imagine, whether that be on Mars, under the ocean, balcony views of Pandora, and even whatever the hell these things are. So the question is, do you think they'll be able to complete this by 2030 or not?
This evil grandmother
I don't think
baked
so.
her 20-month-old granddaughter in the oven. Viewer's discretion is strongly advised. 48-year-old Carolyn Jones lived with her brother and 20-month-old granddaughter Royalty in Shaw, Mississippi. She was described as a caring woman who loved her granddaughter. On October 15th of 2018, Carolyn's brother had found Royalty in a still warm oven when he had returned home from work. She had been burned so badly that she was unrecognizable. The police determined that Royalty had been stabbed multiple times and was still alive when she was placed in the oven. Royalty's cause of death was stab wounds and inhaling all that heated air. Carolyn was taken into custody on a charge of first-degree murder. The motive behind why she did this is still unclear to this day. A week before the incident, Royalty's toys and belongings had been left on the curb for trash. Royalty's car seat, high chair, ride-on horse, and diapers were among the items taken by people that were passing down their street. Neighbors were shocked to hear about what happened, and they stated that they rarely saw Carolyn or anyone else at that house, and they had no idea that a small child was even living there. In 2022, Carolyn was sentenced to life in prison for capital murder.
An 11-year-old boy came across this girl buried underneath the sand, and this is what happened. A young boy named Connor Fitzgerald was building sandcastles with a couple of his friends at the Marina Dunes beach in California. The boys soon moved to digging holes in the sand and challenged each other to see who could dig the deepest. As Connor was digging his hole, he suddenly hit something with his right hand. He dug deeper and realized that it was a bag. He dug around the bag, grabbed it, pulled it out, and was shocked when he realized that the bag was still attached to its owner. Connor then dug back more sand to find a little girl buried underneath. He called out for help, but there were no adults around, so he single-handedly pulled her out of the sand. The little girl was completely limp and wasn't breathing. Connor then thought back to an episode of NCIS where he saw a character perform CPR. As he started the procedure, a young couple walking down the beach started sprinting toward them.
Well, let's talk about one of the scariest urban legends that actually turned out to be true. In the 1970s in Long Beach, California, there was an amusement park called the Pike Amusement, and inside this park was this creepy little fun house called Life in the Dark.
Okay.
Inside of Life in the Dark were a bunch of mannequins, and this urban legend started circulating around that all of them were fake except one. There was just something about this mannequin that turned people away. They said he was a little too human, and they even said that the area around it was just stanky. So flashing forward to a few years later, a TV crew comes in to film The $6 Million Man, and they decide to use Laugh in the Dark as one of their sets. So the director's trying to get the perfect shot, and this one mannequin that's been in question is in the shot, but he's just not liking how it's looking with it in it, so he asked one of the crew members to move it. So this crew member goes over, and when he tries to move the mannequin, its arm falls off. Inside is human bone. It's actually a mummified body. The body belonged to Elmer McCurdy, who was dubbed the bandit who wouldn't give up. He was an outlaw who was robbing a train in Oklahoma in 1911 when he was taken out by the police. His body was on display at an Oklahoma funeral home, but ownership changed and he got shifted around and around and around until he finally ended up at the Pike Amusement, and everyone thought he was fake until he was finally positively ID'd in 1976.
This is why you
That's
should never
insane.
read someone else's diary. Once there was a girl named Samantha who took her friends to her dad's lake house because her dad grew up in the area and actually named the lake after her, Lake Samantha. But as soon as her friends arrived, they noticed something strange. There was a doll hanging on every door in all the houses in town. Samantha explained it's because of a local urban legend. Years ago, a man escaped from an insane asylum nearby, unalived his entire family, then disappeared. Since then, people would go missing around the same time every year, so the dolls were used for protection. But after spending a day by the lake, Samantha and her friends found an old diary, half buried in the dirt near an abandoned house. They opened it up and saw multiple entries dating back to the 80s, but the most terrifying part was the last entry dated August 13, 2010. And it said, "I'm so proud of my daughter. She doesn't hear the voices and she has a lot of friends. Sometimes I take her to these woods. I even named the lake after her." That's when they all heard the sound of twigs snapping behind them, and when they turned around, they saw Samantha's father, saying, "You weren't supposed to find that. Follow for more."
Records that will never be broken again. Number 1, the woman with the most children. Back in the 1800s, a Russian woman named Vasiliev gave birth to 69 total children.
God
she had
damn.
16 pairs of twins, 7 triplets, and 4 quadruplets. And no one has come close to matching that number since. Number 2, the most nuclear explosions ever survived. This is Tsutomu Namaguchi. He has survived 2 different nuclear explosions. Tsutomu was on a business trip when the first nuclear bomb was dropped on Hiroshima in 1945. After miraculously surviving that explosion, he returned to his hometown of Nagasaki just in time to witness the second atomic bombing. But again, he miraculously survived and lived till the age of 93.
Do you know how lucky you have to be to survive 2 of those events in history? Yeah, something on his side. Because he survived 2 of them. That's insane. And those women who held those kids, I don't think that record's probably ever going to be broken. 69? What the hell?
Are the creepiest YouTube channels to ever exist.
Talk about it.
Part 1. Number 1, Meat Sleep. Meat Sleep began posting in 2015 and has since then stopped posting, but that still doesn't change the fact that its horrifying videos and very disturbing history linked to the channel gives it a spot on this list. Meat Sleep then removed the several videos it had on the channel even after garnering over 16,000 subscribers, but that still doesn't change the fact that some people saw some very terrible things. Most of the channel consisted of videos that seemed to be of people being stalked, but there was one video in particular that people pointed out that really just got under their skin. There was one video on the channel titled Meat Pig, which in cannibals' terms is actually human meat. Many people believe that the creator behind these videos is secretly a murderer and a cannibal as well. I assume the creator of this channel is still unknown, but who knows, they may be in jail.
And they was posting on YouTube and getting away with it? That was evidence right there. Man. Meat Sleep. First time hearing about that, man. Tap in with us, you're gonna learn. Just edit.
This
Call them
teenager
out.
killed his mom over a bad grade. This is 15-year-old Gregory Ramos. And on November 2nd, 2018, Gregory Ramos got into a fight with his mother, Gail Clevenger. The fight started over his bad school grades, which resulted in him strangling his own mother to death. Gregory then proceeded to call 2 of his friends to help him bury her body and stage a robbery at his house. Gregory buried her body under a church fire pit and was sentenced to 45 years in prison. Now, what I'm about to show you is Gregory explaining exactly how he committed the murder, and it's absolutely disturbing, because keep in mind, this was his own mother.
Whatever. Alright, I'll tell you what happened. Alright, so I got home, I got an argument with my mom, she slapped me across the face, she began to hit me, she started beating me, I didn't like it, so I strangled her to death. Alright? I put her in a wheelbarrow, I put her in my car, I took the car, I had a mental breakdown where I almost committed suicide 3 times, I drove around Daytona, I dropped the wheelbarrow in some random ass location, and I drove back to the church, I began to dig a hole. dig a hole right under the fucking fire pit. I dug a pretty deep hole, pretty deep. Yeah, deep enough to put about an ankle.
No remorse.
All this time, my mom was decomposing body. I dragged it from my car to the fire pit. In which case, I tried to cut the wedding ring off her finger because I wanted to pawn it, but I couldn't because I didn't have a knife strong enough to cut bones. Oh well, whatever. Anyways, so I dug that hole, threw her body in there, filled back in, made it look all nice and natural, dumped my clothes, and then I went home.
I'm being serious. If you
Do
ever
not
see
care.
this at the beach, do not touch it. And if it ever latches onto you like this, get help immediately. Before you do anything else, favorite this video because this could actually save your life one day.
What
Now,
is
at
that?
first glance, like me, you would think this is an alien creature from the deepest corners of hell. Whereas in fact, this is actually a detached octopus limb. Now, yes, if an octopus's arm becomes disconnected from its body, it does have the ability to live on for a short period of time by itself, explaining why it's able to move like a creature straight out of an alien movie. This, of course, is absolutely horrifying and a brand new conversation to bring up with your therapist if you saw this going about its business on the beach. Now, the suction power of this single arm would be incredibly difficult to remove on your own, because if you didn't know, one suction cup from an octopus can hold up to 35 pounds. And I am talking Great British. And on top of that, hurts. Like, really badly. Now, this most likely wouldn't make this gentleman a Twitter hashtag. However, I wouldn't like to imagine if this was stuck on a more sensitive part of the body. Like the neck. So here's the best case scenario. You see it, you avoid it, you survive. I've said this to literally anyone you know because they might need this video one day.
In 2010.
That's crazy, bro. I didn't even know freaking an octopus, I guess arm or leg had that much freaking suction power, bro. So if you see it, follow his advice, turn away, bro. Don't try to attach that onto your body, man. We learned it.
And an avid caver named Jeff decided to go to Madagascar to explore a natural cave shaft he had discovered years earlier. He arrived in country. Jeff enters the cave when he notices something out of the corner of his eye, and he sees thousands of black widow spiders trying to escape the light. As much as Jeff wanted to stop right there and go right back up to the surface, he couldn't. He needed technical gear, and his technical gear was packed in his backpack, and so he would have to descend to the bottom, then take his pack off, get the gear out, and go back up. He began his slow, awful descent into this cave filled with spiders. He'd bump into the wall, he'd hear them scatter all over the walls, and then he saw them climbing on his sleeve, he saw them on the rope. He finally gets to the bottom, and he opens it up. Spiders crawl out of his bag, carefully reaches in and pulls out his technical gear, throws it up, and he begins making his way back up. Once he gets to the surface, the first thing he does is he strips all of his clothing off to get all the spiders off of his clothing. Luckily, he doesn't get bent, and he takes his notebook out, and he scratches off the title he had given this cave from the last time he was here, which was the Crooked Tube. He scratches that out, and on top of it, he writes, "The entrance to hell."
Things we all believed as kids. For some reason, I thought that if I swallowed watermelon seeds, an entire tree would grow inside of me. Now at night, if you didn't start running to your room as soon as you turned off the lights, the monster that was somehow chasing you would catch you and eat you. A blanket could literally protect us from anything, and I would still argue that my blanket is a modern day shield. My parents used to tell me if I crossed my eyes for long enough, my eyes would stay stuck that way forever.
Yep, those were like myths as the kids.
Things you
Yeah,
can't
debunked.
unsee. The KFC logo looks like Colonel Sanders has a tiny body. Now I can never unsee it. Have you ever noticed that the letter G is simply a spinning arrow? Those drowning signs at the beach look very similar to LOL. There's nothing funny about drowning. The Dodge Viper logo looks like Daffy Duck upside down. Ever noticed how water fountain drains look like a Wi-Fi logo? This sign for a German school looks a bit suspicious. Did you know there's a bear hidden inside the Toblerone logo? Did you ever notice Nelson from The Simpsons is simply a young Barney? And in the 7-Eleven logo, only the N is in lowercase. The Hunger Games Mockingjay logo looks very similar to Johnny Bravo. And I bet you never realized the Big Bang Theory's Dexter's Laboratory grown up. Also, the collar on the Wendy's girl says Mom. Homer Simpson has MG sneaked onto him. These are the initials of Matt Groening, The Simpsons creator.
I never realized.
And finally, the Adidas logo kind of looks like a sinking ship.
Damn, all these hidden logos and stuff, bro. They were right in front of our eyes and we never even knew. It goes to make you think, man. What other logos have hidden messages behind it? The more you know. That's the edit. We're calling them out.
Scary facts that will blow your mind. Part 1. The middle of nowhere is an actual place within New Mexico. The legend goes that an elderly couple lived out there with their dog and witnessed many strange and bizarre things. One night, they reported seeing a strange creature that they identified as a skinwalker. After reporting this to the police, the family had vanished under strange circumstances. Their dog, however, was left behind. This is the story that Courage the Cowardly Dog was based off of. Like and follow for more.
Adult jokes in kids' cartoons you probably didn't notice.
Hey, Judy! Want a party with a real bug? Oh, lady, come like lava. Yeah.
So, being a ladybug automatically makes me a girl. Is that it, flyboy? Huh?
Yikes! She's a god!
What would happen
What
if
the
you
heck?
don't have a shower for 60 years? This is the world's dirtiest man, and he was born in 1928 in Iran, and apparently he hasn't taken a shower in 60 years, because he says he's scared of water and he thinks having a shower could kill him. And because he hasn't showered for so long, his immune system has gotten used to his body being this dirty. But over the years, people from other town have challenged him to have a shower in exchange for money, and he still tells them that he's so scared of it. So they offered him even more money, so he took it. But a few days after taking a shower, he died, because apparently his immune system was not used to him being so clean, which caused his body to go into extreme shock and pain. And before he died, he described the pain as a sharp burning sensation. What do you think caused this?
He really passed away because he took a shower? One of the most bizarre cases we've seen yet, Seekers. Bermuda Triangle? Yeah, that's another one. Antarctica. We ain't going to those places, man. That's off the bucket list. There's this guy that's at it. Call him like we see it.
A time traveler just took a lie detector test and passed it. I'm about to share with you all of his predictions for the upcoming future. So quickly make sure to favorite this video so we can come back to it to see if he was right. Let's start off with August of 2028, where aliens are meant to land here on Earth.
Yes, it is true that aliens did land on Earth in August 2028.
In fact, he states that we already know about the existence of aliens before this, as it becomes public knowledge. What? Next up, in the year 2030, the world will be governed under one law. This actually isn't a bad one. All of Earth's countries converge into one super nation.
In 2030, all of the world's countries converge into one super nation.
Next up, he goes on to say he has a chip inside of him. In fact, all humans from 2045 have this. And it has a name. Watch this.
I do have an implanted chip in my hand known as the One.
He claims it'll be rolled out to the public in 2029. It's a good thing no one's working on this, right? But there's even more predictions, and as I said, he was on a lie detector machine, in which every single answer came out true. In fact, even the lie detector machine guy said that he answered very quickly and very confidently. So it leads me to ask you this, is it all real? Now do me a favor, send this to literally anyone you know, because your friends need to see this.
Like the video, man, so more people can see this. That time travel theory, bro. It's chilling. What the hell happened? That was some footage we showed. Was that the debate? The mayhem. Appreciate him bringing this down for us. Fill up a stadium? God damn.
Before
Creepy
and after
case.
animals growing up. This is what a baby white tiger looks like. They're born blind and only weigh 2 to 3 pounds, but they soon turn into this. Adult white tigers are ferocious and dangerous. They have a bite force of 1050 psi. To put that in perspective, a human's bite force is 162. They
Damn.
also grow razor-sharp teeth. This is what a baby Alaskan Malamute looks like. They're born with blue eyes and are tiny, fluffy, and cute. But when they grow up, they look like this. They become powerful and fierce, and their blue eyes change to brown, amber, or hazel. This is what a baby salamander looks like. They are tiny at only 2.5 centimeters in length, but when they grow older, they turn massive. Their skin turns thick and scaly. They also live for a very long time, sometimes 80 years or more. This is what a baby crocodile looks like. They're very cute and tiny at only 20 centimeters, but they're not so cute when they grow up. They become one of the most aggressive animals known to man, and can weigh a mind-blowing 2,200 pounds. This is what a baby pit bull looks like. They're very cute with oversized eyes and ears. But when they get older, they become very muscular.
Damn.
If not raised well, these can be very dangerous, which is why pit bulls are banned in over 10 countries.
What you're about to see is intense. What you just saw is the United States Coast Guard raiding a high-speed submarine in the Eastern Pacific Ocean moving more than 17,000 pounds of cocaine. On June 18th, 2019, a Coast Guard surveillance aircraft tracked and intercepted the drug-filled narco sub hundreds of miles off the Colombian-Ecuadorian coastline. The video shows a member of the Coast Guard riding on top of the speeding submarine.
Oh, what the hell?
He then starts pounding on the hatch and demanding it to come to a stop. 3 other Coast Guard members then jump ship and board the 40-foot-long submarine. The video then continues, and you see the presumed trafficker emerging from the submarine hatch with his hands up, surrender. And in total, 5 alleged smugglers were seized on board the vessel and were handed over for prosecution by the United States Drug Enforcement Administration.
Are these your friends, the police?
Now, just watch the full encounter unfold. It's honestly something straight out of a video game.
Okay. Did he have to like jump onto the sub?
That's gonna be hard to get on.
Is he speaking like another language too? Oh yeah, he definitely jumped. This is something like out of a movie scene. Whew.
These criminals survive long enough to have that justice served.
That was like out of a movie scene. Serious. Where's the? There's another edit.
These are the world's most haunted dolls. Start
Okay.
at number 4.
Let at the doll. Dolls be creeping me out. I ain't a fan, man. Okay. That one looks even more freaking. Okay. Here we go. And about, yeah, they didn't make, yeah, I'm gonna say they made movies about that. Hell no, I'm not even risking that. Nah, I'm good. Robert. Nah. Dress up like a little boy. Cursed energy, bro. I can feel it through the screen. Be writing letters to a too. No. You can't even take a video of it. Stay away
According
from
to
those
every major
dolls.
country, they decided that these are the top 21 most hated foods in the world. Coming in at number 21 is Brussels sprouts. According
Really?
to science, we're born to innately reject bitter foods. I couldn't agree more. At number 20 is cantaloupe. I don't agree with this at all. I love cantaloupe. Do I like it as much as watermelon, dragon fruit? No, but it definitely should not be on this list. At number 19 is pickles. I personally love pickles, but a lot of people voted them on the list because they're obnoxious shape. Also, people don't like their sour smell and annoying crunch. At number 18 is black licorice. Definitely.
Yep.
Compared to red licorice or other candy, yeah, it needs to be on that list. At number 17, you guessed it, canned tuna. Tuna salad was actually labeled as Atlanta, Georgia's #1 most hated food. At number 16 is candy corn.
Candy corn.
I love it so much, I do not understand that. At number 15 is Spam. I just don't understand the hype behind the canned meat. At number 14 is mayonnaise. I actually have a traumatic childhood experience with mayonnaise, so I would put this at number 1 on my list. At number 13 is ginger, based off of its smell. I actually love ginger, and when I'm sick, I make a hot honey lemon ginger tea. It's the way to go. At number 12 is liver. Do I even need to say more?
Yeah, no.
At number 11 is pineapple pizza. If you're somebody that likes pineapple on your pizza, jail.
Not me.
Just go. Jail. Now for the top 10, bologna. I used to love bologna as a kid, and then I had it like 20,000 times. I haven't had it in like literally 25 years. Number 9 is circus peanuts. Totally disagree with that. I love these things so much. Number 8 is eggplants. Doesn't taste like eggs at all and super bitter. Definitely should be on the list. Number 7 is bitter gourd. I've personally never had it before, but I guess it has good medicinal traits. It was voted as one of the most hated foods in China.
Okay.
Number 6 is the durian fruit. Supposedly it doesn't taste bad, but the smell is absolutely awful. And for our top 5 comes tomatoes.
Tomatoes?
I've tried so hard to like tomatoes, the different textures, I just can't get with it. Number 4 is mushrooms. This one blew me away because I love mushrooms on pizza, by themselves, as a meat substitute, but I guess the rest of the world doesn't think so. Number 3 is cilantro. Now there's actually a genetic reason behind this. If you ask a room of 100 people if they like cilantro, 14% of them will say it tastes like soap. At number 2 is olives. A lot of people think they have a very bitter, distinct flavor, and some people say they're an acquired taste. And at number 1 on the list, you guessed it, beets.
Beets?
33% of the world said they hated beets because of their earthy flavor. Let me know in the comments which food is your least favorite and which ones you thought should have been on the list.
I need your guys' list, man. Down below, seekers. Tell me, man, like I say, your most top 10, I guess, hated food or some foods I just can't stand. I really want to see you guys' thoughts down below. That's going to be interesting. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're true seekers seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, if you guys can just help me, man, by hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, man, I would greatly appreciate the support on you guys joining me on my journey. I do daily uploads, so I greatly appreciate the support, man. Also, one of the questions that answered his comments, he said why you kind of like look straightforward, just because the way my setup is right now. So currently, that's why it makes it seems like I'm just looking straight forward. But I'm watching the video at the same time. But if you guys want me to switch it up, I can try to do that for you guys, man. Anything I can do to make the channel better, with it out. Peace, YouTube.